the channeling of so many women of childbearing age into the workforce has had two really big, potentially civilization-ending consequences. One is the one I've been talking about, which is the feminization of institutions. The other is declining birth rates. That too can cause the end of your civilization. I don't think wokeness is an ideology. If it's an ideology, the way we get rid of it is by having better arguments. But if wokeness is an inevitable result of demographic feminization, then we really can't trust that wokeness is over.
I think it's very important for men and just people in general to understand this topic because it's way deeper than just, what people portray to be online, the wokeness and the modern day dating. It's way deeper than that. And it's a lot of ramifications to what's actually happening in the feminist movement and actually what she just mentioned about what it's doing to birth rates, what it's doing to humans being able to reproduce and things in that nature. And in this video, I'm gonna try to deep dive and explain my overall concept and my thinking about that and what the government, yes, the US government, is ultimately trying to do to combat it, and as well as companies. I'm gonna dive into that later on in the video as well.
Helen, welcome to Triggernometry.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you on. You wrote an article based on a speech you gave at the NatCon conference, which exploded the internet, I think it's fair to say. Went super viral, caused a lot of debate and discussion. And it's basically, I'll let you say it in your own words, but it's kind of a little bit about how the fact that women now control or at least represent the majority of the employees at many institutions is one of the reasons that society has gone the way it has. Is that fair?
I think that's fair to say. Some people have reacted to the piece by, acting as if I'm saying women cause all the problems in the world. I'm definitely not saying that, but I am saying that feminization has caused one specific particular problem, and that is wokeness. Like a lot of people, I was baffled by the woke phenomenon. Why did everyone seemingly go crazy all at once in the summer of 2020? It was inexplicable. It seemed to be mass hysteria, genuinely. And the more I thought about what caused it, which is a very important question because if we know what causes it, we know how to prevent it from happening in the future. I read an article that someone else wrote that put forward a really simple, elegant thesis, which is that wokeness is simply feminine patterns of behavior applied to institutions where women had not been very well represented until recently. Women tend to be more consensus-focused, consensus-oriented. Men, when they're approaching a moral question, will ask, what are the facts? What are the rules? Whereas women will say, what are the relationships at play here? How can we make everybody happy? Mm-hmm. How can we reach an outcome that will satisfy all the parties?
And that's the thing about wokeness is that women came in with this movement, but they don't understand the overall logic about how the world is actually ran and how the world actually moves and operates. There are a lot of things in the world that need to move and operate that don't have anything to do with emotions, don't have anything to do with, oh, I'm going to get this position because I'm this sex or this, I'm a female. A lot of things in this world needs to be done just based upon facts and the overall effects that what needs to be done will have on society.
That is just and according to the rules. That sounded a lot like wokeness to me. And the sort of piece that made it all click into place for me was the coincidence of timing. It is the case, just we can all agree as a matter of fact, that a lot of institutions that went woke or were affected by wokeness became demographically female in the last 5 years. Law schools in America turned majority female in 2016, and they've gotten a little bit more female every year since then. I think now it stands at 55, 56%. The New York Times became majority female in its workforce in 2018, which is maybe why it was so susceptible to the fads of wokeness and the internal policing and the Slack revolts that took place internally over there. Medical schools are now majority female. The white-collar workforce overall, employees in the United States with college degrees, a majority of them are women. And managers, management positions, in the US workforce, 46% female, so almost majority female. So the fact that all of these institutions tipped over to being majority female around the same time that wokeness emerged seemed to me that couldn't possibly be a coincidence.
And see, it's the thing, like I want to throw this in there. Y'all know I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but at the same time, the year she mentioned was right when Biden got into office. And Biden and his administration started implementing a lot of these things, and they amped feminism and they amped wokeness. They amped it and made it times 10 and made it much larger than it should have been by supporting it and condoning a lot of the things in the wokeness and the feminist movement that they shouldn't have done. And that brings you back to Trump getting reelected. That was a big role. That had a big role and a big play into ultimately Trump being reelected, because the whole world, the whole country of the United States had got tired and fed up with the wokeness and the, and the equality and this, that, and the other. I don't want to take anything away from, anyone's sexuality, male, female, transgender, anything like that. But the narrative had grown to be so large and so big that they were pushing it off on other people and punishing other people that didn't believe in it or felt like they had the right not to condone it or go along with it. And I think that had a big role in Trump ultimately getting back into the White House.
And how do you frame this in your mind? Are you saying, well, look, we're rebalancing society, and as a result of this, we will have institutions and discourse and a way of doing politics and a way of doing many things that is more female, and we're rebalancing society, and that's great? Or that like any change, that causes problems, but it also brings benefits? Or is your contention that the increasing feminization of institutions is in and of itself a negative because that way of doing things is less suited to the purpose of those institutions? Because those are very different perspectives.
That's right. It's all about the purpose of the institution. So you have to judge it on a case-by-case basis. The most feminized profession in America today is veterinary medicine. All of the veterinarians in America are ladies now. I don't know why that happened, but 80% of students at veterinary schools are women now. It's possible that has had catastrophic effects that I'm not aware of, but I'm pretty comfortable with that. I don't think that's going to lead to the end of civilization, because there's nothing about feminine modes of interaction that is contrary to the essence of veterinary medicine. However, I think if you're a university, that might be one where if you have modes of group interaction that are oriented towards conformity and consensus, that's not compatible with what a university is supposed to do. A university is supposed to be a safe place for prickly, eccentric characters who believe things that nobody else believes because they've studied an issue really hard and they're, disagreeable.
I think the biggest thing with the woke and the feminist movement is that they ignored all the negative emotional attributes about women when it came to applying them and putting them in certain positions in institutions. Women serve a different purpose in society than men do. And so there are certain jobs, certain professions, certain things that you can't bring all that emotional baggage into. Like, you can't run the military with a female mindset, because the emotions will get in the way of making it operate effectively and efficiently. And I think that's where the lines were blurred and crossed, and it was starting to have an adverse negative effect on society, jobs, careers, and this, that, and the other, because these women were put into these high positions and they weren't operating off of just facts, numbers, and what the truth was about what was going on. A lot of their emotions were brought into running these institutions. And now I want to get into the current administration and what the U.S. government is actually doing to combat the wokeness and what she was talking about, where women aren't having kids and the birth rate is going down. First, they started with Roe versus Wade. And that's basically the Supreme Court literally almost made it illegal for a woman to have an abortion in the United States. That wasn't done to take women's rights away. That was done because the effect of wokeness has had such a large negative effect on birth rates in the United States. They had to do something to try to combat it. And then on top of that, the current administration went at the healthcare profession, and it mainly affected females, nurses. And I don't know the full extent of it or exactly why they done it, but they intentionally reclassified women's professions that they dominated in, and that was on the medical field side. And so basically, a woman that has a 4-year degree, that's a nurse, and she's not looked at as a professional right now. And I personally don't think that part was right, but this has an overall bigger, broader perspective of the wokeness and the feminist move and the past administration on how it amplified the narrative and how this current administration is trying to combat it and kind of rein it back in and pull it back, because at the end of the day, it's not conducive to society moving forward overall. But nonetheless, please like, subscribe. Let me know what you all think down below. We're running towards 100K subs like it ain't nothing. Everyone have a blessed day.